Hey guys, let's do another pick a topic. Let's see what we get this time. Manifestor childhood. Okay. So this is another human design topic, and we're going to talk about the manifestor childhood. Thanks for joining me here at Manifestor Uncensored. I am a manifestor. My name is Dar. So let's talk about my childhood and childhood in general. Okay. So the manifestor child. Well, Ra said that the moment a manifestor child is born, the mother says, uh-oh, like this one's going to be tough. This one's going to be trouble. This one's going to be difficult. And that may be so. I did not give birth to a manifestor child. I was a manifestor child. And it's not even necessarily conscious that the mother is doing this consciously. She just probably maybe feels like a nervousness or something, an anxiety. So I asked my mom if she felt this, but of course, I mean, that was a really long time ago. She doesn't remember if she felt uh-oh. Now, and even if she did, she would have chalked that up to I'm her first child, right? If she felt that, it would have been just like new mom, inexperienced mom jitters or something like that. But she didn't remember if she felt that way. But it's very interesting because my parents were pretty strict with me compared to the parents of my friends. Like when I became a teenager, I noticed this, right? When I was a young kid, just playing outside on the street with, right on the same street and stuff like that, not that big a deal. When I was out during the day, it was fine. But as I became a teenager and wanted to go out at night and that kind of stuff, that's when I really noticed that my parents were more strict than other parents. And they were also like super big on the manners and stuff. And I just always assumed that that's who they are. And it probably is who they are. But I also wonder, since I was their first child and they're only, I was their only manifestor, but still I was their first child. And I also wonder though, if it was an energetic response to me, that maybe they felt like they needed to teach me manners because they sensed that I might be bold, or maybe I would be too forward or something like that. I mean, I don't know. That just came to me right now. It's possible that they were so big on that kind of stuff as an energetic response to how they experienced me, and they didn't even know it. But the funny thing is, there are, old slides, pictures of me on a leash. And I know that some people probably are going to have like a visceral reaction to that, like saying that that's horrible. And I have to admit, when I was a kid, when I was younger, or even as an adult, I teased my parents about having me on a leash. And I guess there was a part of me that thought that was bad, but not really. And now that I know about being a manifestor, my aura and my tendencies being a manifestor, I think that was actually a great idea. Now, I will say, I think they only had me on that leash. It wasn't called a leash. I don't know what it was called, but it wasn't really a leash. But, that's what we say, that's what I said when I teased my parents about it. But I think they only did it this one time. We were at the World's Fair, and it was really, really crowded with people from all over the place. And you don't want your toddler, I think I was about a year old, you don't want your toddler to wander off. And so And I never saw my brother on, any of my brothers on a leash, and none of them are manifestors. So honestly, when you think about it, that was pretty wise. They didn't know it, but by having me on a leash, I was able to walk around with some freedom and yet not get lost. So there was a little bit of genius in that they didn't realize, and I never realized either. Like I said, I kind of always, either teased them about it or thought it was bad. Like, you had me on a leash, but really the alternatives would have been someone has to carry me, and I probably didn't want to be carried, or I'd have to be in a stroller, and I probably didn't want to be in a stroller. I probably wanted that freedom to explore. And as a manifestor, I probably would have just wandered off on my own and, not been frightened, not felt any trepidation about it at all. So that actually was pretty wise. So, if you ever give birth to a manifestor child, or you have one now, that's at that toddler age, when you're in a crowded place, it might be a way to give the kid some freedom, some leeway to explore. So yeah, manifestor childhood. You want to give the manifestor child as much freedom as you can while keeping them safe. And, there can be a real fine line there. Because who would feel comfortable just letting their child just roam around unattended, right? So, yeah, you really want to let the manifestor child explore as much as they can and have as much freedom as they can that's age appropriate. If a manifestor asks for permission to do something, unless it's unreasonable or, completely unsafe, you want to do your best to allow the manifestor child to do what they want to do, what they feel like they need to do, of course, within reason. But here's the thing, you really want to open communication with a manifestor child. You want to have open communication. And the thing is, if you are open with them and you encourage them to be open with you, and you can give them reasonable freedom, they will have no reason to not be open with you. So, the deal can be, again, it's all age appropriate as the manifestor, gets older, whatever is age appropriate. But, the deal can be, and you start this conversation, right away at a very young age, is, you need to keep me informed, right? So you teach the manifestor to, yes, ask you permission, but also inform you of all the details, right? So the younger a manifestor child is, the more important it is that they ask permission and that they give you all the details. And then actually, the older they get, you kind of want to transition them into informing and also providing you with those details so that you can keep them safe, right? Rather than just inform you, I'm going out and that's it. And now you, the parent, feels uncomfortable because now the manifestor just informed you that they're going out and they just left the house, but you have no details. You have no idea where they're going or with whom. So if you can have this openness and this trust between parent and child, then the manifestor, and the expectation, the manifestor is going to inform you, I'm going here, I'm going with so-and-so, I expect to stay there, and if I leave, I will let you know. And these days with cell phones, it's much easier than when I was a kid. So there's no reason the manifestor can't inform you. But that's why you want to keep that trust and that openness, because a manifestor child or teenager, if they feel like they can't do what they want, they will probably lie. So I used to feel bad about how I lied to get freedom, but I feel less bad now that I understand that I'm a manifestor, because, you know, my parents didn't know I was a manifestor. I didn't know I was a manifestor. I just knew I needed more freedom. So yeah, so I would say I was sleeping over someone's house, and and then we kind of stayed out all night. Or I would say that I was home at someone's house, and then we were still out, that kind of stuff. Again, like, not proud of that, but, you know, I had the least freedom of all my peers in my friend group. And that's what I would do to get more freedom, you know? And we didn't have cell phones in those days. So, you know, I would, if I called my mother to say I was someplace, you know, oh yeah, I'm at so-and-so's house, but maybe I wasn't, you know, that kind of stuff. And again, if you want to be able to assure that your manifestor child is safe, it would be better if they could be honest with you about what they are doing. And they won't feel the need to lie to you to get freedom if you have that open and honest communication with them. So, also, it's not only about the freedom and all that kind of stuff. While you want to teach a manifestor child to ask permission while they're young, I did mention about transitioning into informing. And the reason I want to say that, help them transition into informing, even if it's just informing you, let them try informing you instead of asking you as they get older. And, you know, when you think that's appropriate. But, you know, I've never heard anyone say this before, but as someone who was brought up to be so polite and so well-mannered and don't ask for anything, I think part of the way I lost my initiating mojo is because I was taught to be so polite that it was not okay to ask for something that you want. You have to wait to be invited. So I was taught to be a projector and literally wait for the invitation. Like, you can't do anything until you have an invitation, till someone says, would you like this? Or would you like to join us? Would you like to sit down? Would you like to stand up? Would you like to, you know what I mean? So, so to try to avoid getting your manifestor child trapped in a place of feeling uncomfortable informing and like they need to wait to be invited, try to help them transition to informing as they get older. Like, again, informing you. Well, you know, I instead of saying, may I go out with my friends, I am going out with my friends. Now, if you're teaching them about being a manifestor, if you're letting them be the manifestor, you know, the conversation has already been had. You've already been open about this. Listen, I want you to get used to informing instead of asking. So I'm going to let you tell me what you're going to do. I'm going to let you inform me, but with the understanding that if I think it's unsafe or inappropriate, you know, I might still veto it, or we might have to have a conversation about it before you do what you want to do. I hope that makes sense. Because, you know, you don't want your manifestor child to grow up and have a difficult time initiating because they're still asking permission of everyone, like me, right? Like some of us. It's really hard to decondition. It's hard enough to decondition. So if you're raising a manifestor child knowingly, transition them into informing. Don't just teach them only to ask permission. Again, as it's age appropriate, transition them. Also, maybe, I mean, it would be a difficult thing to say to a child, but getting them to understand their aura and how other people experience them, if they can understand that from the start, that would be really helpful, because sometimes manifestors, I'm sure everybody experiences rejection and they don't know why. But I think it's a more common theme for manifestors because our aura is closed and repelling, and it literally feels like we're pushing people out of the way to some people, and it feels like we come on too strong even if we don't feel like we are. Yeah, I've had people, strangers, even in public, react badly to me for no apparent reason. And, they must have felt my aura must have been strong and really pushing them or what have you. And for a child to experience rejection and to start to internalize that rejection and start to think poorly of themselves and not know why they might have been rejected, just to try to explain to them that others might experience them energetically very powerfully, even though they aren't coming across powerfully or aren't expressing themselves powerfully. They might just energetically be experienced that way, and that some people, it might put some people off. Some people might not understand it. Some people might not receive it well. That would go a long way for a manifestor's self-esteem, self-confidence, in preventing a lack of self-esteem and a lack of self-confidence, and wondering what's wrong with me. Oh, it must be this about me. It must be that about me, that kind of stuff. What else? If we want manifestors to really initiate things for other people, then they need to be comfortable in their own skin doing so. And again, because of the reactions that we've gotten from other people, because of people trying to interfere with, our freedom and that kind of stuff, then we tend to not only maybe be secretive about things, but we might tend to stop initiating because we don't understand why people are receiving it poorly and such. So you really want to do your best to have your manifestor child understand that they have an impact on people, and that they are supposed to have an impact on people, and that it's okay for them to initiate things. It's okay for them to maybe start conversations when they feel like it, to not be shy. So many manifestors are disempowered, and, I'm talking from experience, right? I've become a lot more empowered in recent years. And I never completely lost my power to begin with. No one does. I was still always a manifestor. But my conditioning by the conditioning from my other experiences, from my life experiences, not totally, but nearly totally disempowered me. And I didn't know who I was, and I didn't initiate. And I mean, I'm still deconditioning, of course, obviously, aren't we all? That never ends. But boy, if your child could not have to go through that in the first place, how amazing would that be? I mean, not just manifestors, any child, but I mean, we're talking about manifestor childhood here. Yeah, what else? I'd really like to make sure I include anything I could think of from my own experience. I mean, I guess there was a time when I wasn't a disempowered manifestor as a child. You know, my father said that when I was a kid, I kind of almost wish he said this to me when I was a kid, but when I was a kid, he said, you know, when I saw how you interacted with, you know, your friends who were 3 years older than you, I knew I'd never have to worry about you. But you know what? That went away. That confidence, that, you know, impactful energy, that went away from conditioning, from my experience of life, of not knowing who I was. But if I had known who I was back then, it probably would not have gone away. Sure, you know, I would still experience other people's energy in my undefined centers and all that, but I would be aware of that. And of course, it's not my parents' fault. They couldn't have even known. You know, Ra hadn't received, you know, this information, and, you know, there was no way my parents could have known. So I mean, I'm not at all blaming them. Not at all. I mean, there is nothing they could have done. There's nothing they could have known. So, but, you know, the thing is now, I mean, if you know, regardless of the child's type, if parents could know this, that would be just amazing for all children. I mean, you know, obviously that's what Ra said, it's here for the children, human design. And of course that makes tremendous sense, but if the parents don't know it, then it's going to be difficult to get it to the children. Okay, anything else about my manifestor childhood that would be valuable for someone to know? Yeah, I can't really think of anything else at the moment. I mean, I could revisit this topic in the future. I would be happy to. If you do have any questions or you know, any questions that maybe I would even could answer in another video, or any suggestions for video topics, feel free to put them in the comments. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. And either way though, thanks for joining me if you're still with me. And I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.